Kia ora whanau, welcome to the podcast episode of today. You're with Lilia Tarawa. Today we are going to be talking about growth, and I've got a few notes here. It's the growth edge and learning to love discomfort. So how do we get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and the difference between that and burnout? And there's a really key difference. We're going to dive into that today. We're going to talk about how you can push yourself to grow without injuring yourself, and how to understand and recognize your own capacity, and then how to put some really good boundaries in place, which we're all guilty of, overstepping those boundaries and forgetting to assert those boundaries actually with people in our lives, with our friends, our family, and in work. And how those are really going to help protect you and to build those walls around you that defend you against injury, especially when you're in a growth phase. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Right now, there is such a massive amount of burnout in the industry. Like literally, if I was talking to an audience right now, I'd say to them, hey, hands up who would experience burnout, and no word of a lie, I'm sure it would be at least half the audience. That's how much we're in this rat race now in 2025, where we're constantly just chasing instead of growing in a really beautiful, organic way that feels good in our bodies, good in our souls, and actually is conducive to faster growth. And trust me, I have been guilty of this, being very ambitious. And, this happens a lot with ambitious women is, we're constantly pushing ourselves, but we're forgetting to go, well, where's the edge for us? Sometimes the discomfort isn't a red flag. Sometimes it's just proof that you're expanding into your next level. But sometimes the discomfort is a red flag, and it's there to show you that you need to pull back, and it's time to just take a breath, slow it down, go slower, and give yourself some time and space to just expand and be. We're going to talk about what are the differences between what those feel like, right? I think we need to talk about the mindset towards burnout too. Sometimes we can think, well, I'm exhausted, so that must mean that I'm not strong enough, right? To a degree, yes, you can grow those muscles, your ability and your capacity, right? But it is about knowing your growth threshold and not pushing too far past that. So, for example, my partner has been in the MMA scene for a long, long time. He's incredibly fit. Honestly, this guy, since I've been with him, I think we've been together about 6 years now, he has not taken a rest day. He works out every single day, but he has trained his body to be able to handle that level of working out. And he has the capacity to hold that level of strength training. So, for example, I was then wanting to go, okay, I'm going to get into my fitness. I'm going to really look after my body. I'm going to start working on that, right? And then I wanted to start this kind of let's do this every day routine. And it just totally did not work for me. My body could not handle that level. My mind could, and I wanted to. I wanted to be I've got the willpower to do this. My brain is saying to do this, but my body was just Lil, nah. You need to make sure that you're taking every, say, almost second day as a rest day. And it's really about listening. And I think there's a key point in this episode is listening to your body and taking the space and time to tune in, to really slow down, to ask, what is my body telling me right now? And to understand, and I think it's in a form of it's like reparenting almost. You want to be able to go, okay, if this was a child and my child was tired, well, I would give my child rest. If my child was hungry, I would feed my child. And gosh, man, I'm literally here saying these things and thinking to myself, Lil, like, you've got to take better care of your diet, what you're eating, and listening to your body and making sure that you're eating at the times when you need food, not thinking that you have to keep working through those times. So it's not weakness when you reach that threshold, when you reach that edge. And it's important to listen so that you can know your growth threshold. And there's a difference between stretching your capacity and then snapping. And I think that's the key, is we want to learn to listen to our bodies and then understand what is our edge and how can we push ourselves to that edge and a little bit further without going so far that we're then pushing ourselves over the edge. And that is the key to avoiding this burnout that so much the world is experiencing right now. Here's how to know the difference. Stretching feels exciting and it's uncertain. Like, it feels like it's a light feeling. It's uncomfortable. You're challenged. You are pushing past your limits, your current limits, but you're not feeling always depleted. And snapping, pushing too far over that edge, it feels heavy and hopeless. It feels like this is unsustainable. And so you're forcing results, not like flowing towards results. And that's sort of the difference between stretching versus the snapping. One being very healthy and sustainable, the other being very unsustainable. If you find yourself in these situations where you're like, is this burnout or is this growth? Is this just growth discomfort or is this injury? If it's growth, just you breathe and you hold it. But if you have that sense that this is actually, I might be causing harm to myself in this instance, then that's when it's time to really pull back, stop, rest, recalibrate. I'm a big advocate for working hard. I believe in chasing my dreams and achieving my highest ambitions. But I'm also a huge advocate for let's make sure that we are doing it in a way that we are caring for ourselves and making sure that we're putting our bodies first. You don't need to push harder. I think that is a very important little piece. You don't have to push harder to achieve more often. It's just about learning your capacity and protecting your capacity, because the woman who can hold her growth without collapsing under it, she's unstoppable. So let's talk about boundaries, right? Boundaries is something I really had to learn when I was actually leaving religion. So this is just a little bit about my story and learning boundaries. Boundaries was something I really had to put in place in order, when you've lived in like a high control religious environment or a high control family environment. Often when you're stepping away from that, the very first thing that you start to need to do is put boundaries into place in relationships with people who think they can push you around, and people who have been incredibly controlling. Environments who have been incredibly controlling. Never like this. Boundaries is like, you can always tell when you put a boundary in place with someone, if they react badly to it, then that's someone who doesn't actually respect you. And they don't like the boundary because it's taking away some of their control over you. And that was a really empowering thing for me to learn, is that when I assert my boundaries, who are the people that actually respect those? Who are the people that don't keep pushing? Who are the people that understand like what I've said to them? You know, if I'm saying this type of behavior is not okay for me, then who are the people that are going to actually take that on board? And that's how I really was able to start navigating my relationships after leaving a high control religious environment, because it was really about, well, what is going to serve me and what are the boundaries that I need to have in place. So a lot of the time, if I'm feeling any type of resentment or if I'm feeling any type of overwhelm, most of the time I can pull it back to, oh, there is a boundary that needed to be put in place in this instance to protect me and to keep me safe. And not only just to keep me safe, but also to self-respect myself. And that was a big shift for me after leaving an environment where you had no say. Like, we had no say in the religious cult where I was raised about what our lives looked like. No say over our time or our energy or our relationships. Like, everything was just a set of rules that you had to follow. So I really think learning those boundaries was one of the most empowering things for me. And then it's served me very, very well when it comes to achieving my big goals, because it's always been able to guide me and say, well, in this situation, what is a boundary that I can put in place that would respect myself more, that would teach the others how to respect me more? Because you teach the world how to treat you. You teach the people in your life how to treat you. And that comes down to boundaries and self-respect. So anyway, we'll go into boundaries deeper on a whole nother episode. The key takeaway is you really just tuning in, listening to your body, asking yourself, is this growth discomfort? Is this just stretching? Or am I going to cause myself injury if I keep going? And then from there, just really pulling it back. Thank you so much for listening along with me today. I hope you love this episode and looking forward to seeing you on the next one.